Yesterday's Islanders versus Canadiens game had some unreal moments and some major plays. Sean Monahan with the game-winning goal at the end was spectacular, but one play really loomed over that game, and it was Brendan Gallagher's hit on Adam Pelech. We're going to be breaking down and showing that clip and talking about it, as well as the NHL suspension on Gallagher that just simply isn't enough. So make sure you watch till the end as we break down this entire situation, and hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey breakdowns just like this all throughout the hockey season. Now, when we talk about Brendan Gallagher of the Montreal Canadiens, this is a player that has always played with an edge, always been on the interesting side, but has never really gotten too much conversation from the NHL Player Safety. Only really had one incident against Barclay Goodrow a couple of years back. And that's over his entire 12-year NHL career. Now, that only other incident came against the New York Rangers a couple of years back. Of course, he was talking with Goodrow, getting scrummy, and goes right in, sucker punches him during the middle of play with 30 seconds to go. Now, let's be honest, Brendan Gallagher knew exactly what he was doing here. I mean, just look at this replay. Comes right in, Goodrow's not even expecting him, and just sucker punches him clean to the head. Now, for that incident, Brendan Gallagher pretty much just got a slap on the wrist. $2,500 fine for the sucker punch, but no suspension. But in the third period versus the New York Islanders, with Montreal up 3-1, not only did Gallagher make a dangerous hit, he also made an incredibly stupid one that almost ended up losing this entire game for Montreal. As you can see, 18-16 left in the third. It is a scrappy, scroungy game up to this point. Pelech gets the puck, Islanders trying to get out of their zone, and then Brendan Gallagher comes in with a massive blow to the head. As you can see, Pelech is down in a lot of pain here, not really even knowing what to do with himself. And it's kind of just tough to watch, man. I mean, you can see just how much of just bitter pain that Pelech is in right now because of that hit. Now, it's an absolute blessing. Adam Pelech was able to get up by himself and go back to the locker room. You love to see that. But then they show the first replay, and immediately you could just see this is gonna be a rough one. This is the angle that really does Gallagher in, just coming right in and using that elbow to crank Pelech in the head. And if you go frame by frame here, looking at what Brendan Gallagher was doing, he was just basically coming through the middle of the ice, looking to make a big play. But as Pelech was kind of lounging over, look at where Gallagher's elbow starts to head. As Pelech is looking towards his pass, you see Gallagher come up with that shoulder, come up with that elbow, and just, again, crank Pelech right where he doesn't want to be. But I think the biggest indicator towards Gallagher's unfair play here is just how much momentum is riding up with his shoulder, how much you can see how quick it goes up, and how really the intent is to hit the head here. I mean, you see the momentum in his play. If he kept his shoulder right here, maybe he would be able to get that chest, get that upper chest, and it would have been a bruising hit. But you see, as he continues to raise that shoulder, as he continues to raise that elbow. Now, when we talk about the NHL rulebook and what they're looking against, making action against players, against head hitting and everything like that, one of the points they talk about is a player changing position right before, saying whether the player attempted to hit squarely through the opponent's body and the head was not picked as a result of poor timing, poor angle or approach, or unnecessary extension of the body upward or outward. Basically saying that a big point of contention is whether the player was, again, trying to go for a square body hit, or if they were picking and specifically going after head contact. Again, when we talk about this Brendan Gallagher hit, it's hard not to see the intent as head hitting. You see, again, the form that Gallagher has, he springs upwards. He springs and pushes up with his skates to reach a higher elevation with Pelech. And sure, maybe he was expecting Pelech as a big boy to kind of reach back up, stop looking down a little bit more, but still, Pelech is still in a pretty square position. And I think Gallagher could have easily still gone for a chest hit here. But again, raises his form. And even though Pelech isn't really moving in a bigger direction, isn't really going up taller, Gallagher goes and makes up for it and hits him right in the cheek. And again, you can see the reaction of Pelech's head, just how much it circles back and just gets jerked around. And it's just not what you want to see. But this is the biggest guilty indicator out of all this. I mean, the hit obviously is a big indicator, but also the form after the hit. You can see a lot of a player's intent after they make a hit, and you can see with Gallagher, he's raising his elbow up, he's raising his shoulder up, trying to go for a little bit of a dance move, and you can see the form that he puts out there. This is a form, this is a hit that was going for the head, going for high contact on Adam Pelech, and it's unfortunate that it connected. The biggest thing to me is that it was unnecessary, it was needless, and especially in Gallagher's case, it was a boneheaded play, a stupid play. You have 8 minutes left in the third. You're up 2 goals, and you make a play like this? It's probably one of the dumbest things he's ever done in his NHL career. You're just doing your team a disservice, man, and that's what almost happened. They almost lost because of this play. On the power play shift that Brendan Gallagher gave the Islanders, Matthew Barzal had a couple of really nice plays to enter the zone. He comes right in and just a bullet to make it 3-2. Then Kyle Palmieri, with 30 seconds left in the major, would tie it with 3:30 to go in the third. Nice job there, Gally. Thankfully, Sean Monahan would absolutely save Gallagher's life, and a minute later would get the game-winning goal to make it 4-3. And then today we got the confirmation from NHL Player Safety that Montreal's Brendan Gallagher will have an in-person hearing today for an illegal check to the head of NY Islanders Adam Pelech. Great news. Okay. So the NHL decided to give him a phone hearing, not an in-person hearing, which means a maximum of a 5-game suspension. Gallagher very fortunate, as Elliot Friedman says. I thought this would be in person. Yeah, me too. It's kind of funny. Last night on Twitter, it was about as unanimous of a public opinion as I have seen on any hit, any potential suspension, maybe in my entire lifetime. I probably saw one person saying that it wasn't worthy of a suspension. They got ratioed like 60 comments to 1 like. It was pretty nuts. This is a situation where I feel like almost everybody is unanimous in agreeing that this should be a suspension, should be a major one. 5 games sure is a pretty major suspension, but even then, if it's 5 games, that is light, man. And again, because it is a phone hearing, there's the possibility of 1, 2, 3, 4 game suspensions as well. And even though I think 5 is maybe the most likely suspension to be given out, to me, this should be a 10. This should be at least an 8. I mean, 8, I think, will be, branching the 2 paths. And we saw an incident a little while back with Charlie McAvoy getting 4 games, which should have also been more. But this is a situation where I just don't think there's any undeniability that this is a player that intended to hit the head. Sure, 5 games is still a long time, but it ain't long enough. And again, this is coming from somebody that likes Montreal, has liked a player like Brendan Gallagher a lot in the past. I don't care. Throw the book at him. He clearly deserves it. All jokes aside, though, it is absolutely hilarious that the NHL would give them just a 5-game suspension at most. The fact that that is the most that Brendan Gallagher can receive in this hit is crazy. Maybe that is influenced by the fact that Gallagher, of course, hasn't had any suspension history. But again, in situations like this, where it is so clearly the player making an egregious head hit on purpose, I don't care if he hasn't done it before. Now he's doing it. Suspend the guy for a long time. Let's say your son at 17 years old decides to murder somebody. You think the judge is going to be like, oh yeah, good 16-year streak you had going on. Let's just give you some community service. My lawyers have just informed me that I must make a statement regarding my last statement saying that that is just a haha funny joke. But seriously, dude, I think Gallagher should have gotten so much more than he's probably going to get here. The fact that, again, it could just be in that 5-3 range. I mean, it's just stupid. I mean, what is the precedent that you'll just get a little slap on the wrist, a week break from the NHL if you decide to elbow and shoulder somebody in the head blatantly? I mean, this league is supposed to be cracking down on head hitting. We've seen a little bit of progress in that department, but clearly not enough. I mean, dude, imagine if this was the IIHF, they'd suspend you for the entire life plus some. From Pierre LeBrun saying, I thought McAvoy was lucky to get just 4 games for this hit to the head back in October. Just like I think Gallagher's hit last night merits more than 5 games. But I guess the McAvoy ruling helps Gallagher to some degree. In the end, both will have ended up getting off lightly. Now he's talking about this hit on Ekman Larson where he just comes straight in and just pops him in the head. I mean, this was another play that should have been longer than it was. With McAvoy, 4 games, sure, whatever. It should have probably been about 6, maybe even 8, especially in McAvoy's case being a younger player. Maybe it's more excusable, I guess, in the NHL's ruling, but still, that should have been longer as well. All I know is that NHL Player Safety is missing the mark here. They are not doing their jobs correctly in protecting players. I mean, obviously, a player like McAvoy was not suspended enough because now a player like Brendan Gallagher can decide to do something like this and think it might be okay to do in the end. And to me, they need to make an example of somebody. They could have made an example of McAvoy. They could have made an example of Gallagher. And when something happens in March, when a player loses out on their entire season due to a concussion, don't be begging the NHL Player Safety to do anything about it because they clearly can't be responsible. I'm just absolutely pissed, man. This whole situation gets my whole blood riled up, but I want to know in the comments down below, what do you guys think of this Brendan Gallagher situation? What do you think the suspension should be if the suspension is already released by the time this video is made? Do you think it was the right suspension amount? Do you think it should have been longer? Let us know all your thoughts down below. Of course, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you guys haven't already, and share the video with all the hockey fans you guys know online, and click on this card for all of my hockey trade number content right in one playlist. My name is Nathan. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.